Hello everyone, and welcome to part 2 of this unbox, build and test video. This is going to look at the build that we did and some of the problems that we faced. So once again, this is an Airpress drill. Airpress is a company that specializes in hydraulic pneumatic machines, but the drill press is something that they make, and it's a very, very good price. So let's have a look at the build. If you watched the first part of the video, you would know that there were some problems with rust in various places. I've managed to clean that off the table. I've done that with elbow grease, and then I've used denatured alcohol, and I've used a paste wax as that's safe for the wood. So I'll have to change that paste wax probably every couple of months. Some of the things to note now this machine is together. There are 2 trip switches on this for the power. So one, which is obvious and documented, is inside the cover. Here we are, looking inside the cover at the trip switch, which is at the back there. So this little button here, you can hear that as a little trip switch there to make sure the lid is closed. You can see the aluminium pulleys there. But the tricky one was a switch over here, which is not documented, as this is the 2020 model, and prior to the 2020 model I don't think this switch was on there. Actually, I put this together and I couldn't get it to switch on, so my wife, who is the Polish speaker in the family, contacted Airpress, and they sent me a link to a video to show me how to put together this little device on the side here, which actually has, did you hear that? A trip switch as well. And if we open that up, as a safety measure, the drill will not come on. However, as there were no instructions about this, I had this tiny tab, you can see a little tab here, on the other side of this screw thread when I put it together, it didn't trip the switch. Now, of course, with the safety guard in place, the machine comes on fine. What's interesting about that is that's actually quieter than my previous drill press, which was this generic Chinese drill press 350 watt. That's actually a lot louder than this 750 watt beast over here. So I'm actually quite pleased with the level of noise of it. What other problems did I face during the build? Well, as predicted, this rack and pinion system at the side here just doesn't attach firmly enough. It's meant to be held in place by down at the bottom here. It's got it fits into the ring down there, and then we've got a ring up here which holds it in place. However, you can see the instructions, please do not over tighten this. And the reason is, if you push that down, the rack starts to come off the column, and because it's off the column, the table at various points as it goes up and down is either too loose and it falls, or it's too tight and you can't move it, depending on how you set it. So that's not great. So I fully expected something like that. So I've actually drilled through, put a bolt in the top, drilled through, put a bolt in the bottom as well to hold the rack in place. It's not perfect. I would rather tack weld it along the length, but unfortunately the way it goes together, if I tack weld it, the table won't be able to get over the tack welds. So I'd actually have to drill into the pole on this side, make a hole in the pole and then tack weld through that into the back side of the rack on the other side. And I don't fancy doing that. I don't think my welding skills are up to the job. A couple of other things. This has a depth stop, which is controlled by this knob here. This knob, when we're setting it, you can line that up and move it around, but then when you want to lock it into place, it's horizontal, which of course can catch this. So you have to make sure to move this down as far as it will go, and also in the aluminium slotted rail here, move this down as far as it will go, and also move it across this way as far as it will go as well. Again, no real instructions on this stuff, so you have to do that. Any other problems with the build? No, I don't think so. In the manual it says that this is so this is about 75 kilos, and in the manual it says that it shouldn't be freestanding, and I would have to agree with that. Not a good idea to have that freestanding. It's okay for an initial test, but for long-term use, you're definitely going to have to bolt that to the floor somehow. How does the table move? The table moves quite well now. It has a little bit of rocking motion due to the motion on the rack and the pinion, but basically it's quite smooth, quite nice. That's fine. The belt adjustment lever, you can loosen off, then change the belts inside. That's fine. Of course, I've got some stickers so that, you know, I don't know why I've got stickers. I've got stickers. Everything else was fine. I was worried about the a drip of metal inside the casting in here. Actually, this pole doesn't go down that deep, so it was no problem at all. So none of that was an issue. Attaching the lasers, remember not to get them the wrong way around. I did initially. It's perfectly possible to attach them backwards. It just means that the lasers will be much narrower as they cross this because they're from further away. So to get the cross here, you got to move the two parallel lines inwards, and they're very much narrower. If you get them the right way around, then they're much closer. They're much closer to this point, and so they why don't I switch them on? Switch them on, Chris. Good grief. And so you can see the lasers there, and you can see how much of a cross you get. If you've got this switch reversed, then the cross is much narrower. So that was another issue I had. Other than that, it went fairly smoothly. So now I look at the various tools that you need, which are not provided. So the Allen keys are provided, but you're going to need M13 spanners, 2 of them. If you're going to attach the rack side, you're going to need good quality metal drill bit. You're going through some hard steel here. You're going to need a soft hammer to knock the arbor into place. Denatured alcohol, because if you've got rust the way I did, you're going to want to sand, then remove stuff. Some paste wax to treat the surface. Your drill bits. This is interesting. So here we've got 13mm spanner. Here we've got 17mm because there was a 17mm bolt as well I had to do. Here we've got, what is this, 24mm, and this is for the worst part of the build. Underneath here is the table, and the only way to move the angle of the table is a bolt under there, which is 24mm. Now when I got this, the table connection here was painted solid. So I had to take this apart, sand both surfaces, then add some grease, then reapply it, then put that nut back on in order to get this table flat. And at the moment the table can be gently tapped to move the angle if I want to, but normally you'd have to get right under there to get to that bolt, which is just, that's not a great design. So watch out for that. So you're going to need one of these hammers as well. What else do you need? There are lots of different screws for this. Some are Phillips, some are positron. There are different sizes, so there's a size 3, there's a size 2 as well. I found you can do everything with a positron size 2 screwdriver, so that's fine. And you're going to need 2 types of oil. You are going to need your WD-40 at various points in this build, and you're going to need some cutting oil if you are going to drill the holes through the post there. You'll also need metallic sanding block. So that's all the tools you need to do this. Conclusion then on the build. It was a bit of trouble, but this machine is a lot of metal for the money, and I'm very happy I bought it so far. I think with this kind of machine, where you're getting a lot of machine for the money, you often expect that you might have to make a few modifications. The fact that I've made them up front rather than later as I've discovered problems, well, that's an individual choice, of course. I think if I had the choice again, I would definitely make the same choice. I have grown to like this machine as I've done the build, and I'm happy that the rust removed quite easily, and well worth the money so far. So the next video is the test in part 3, so I'll see you then.